Check, check, check.
Yes.
We are, okay, good.
Thank you, Ken, and good morning, everyone, to those who are here and those on our Zoom link. Welcome to Southminster Presbyterian Church. I'm Rick Collins, and I'm helping with today's service as our senior pastor, Scott Delgarno, and our associate pastor, Don Ludwig, are doing other wonderful things today. So today we're fortunate to have Reverend Bunny Oliver, who will be leading our children's time and also giving today's sermon. Southminster is an open and affirming congregation. We welcome everyone, wherever you are on your spiritual journey. Few housekeeping details. At the end of each row is a beige pad, and that's to let us know that you're here, and we ask that you sign in and pass it down the row. Recordings of today's sermon will be available on our website on Monday. If you'd like to receive our Thursday e-blast to learn more about upcoming events, teachings, book readings, etc., go to our website, which is located in your program. Okay, we've got a few announcements, and we're going to start off with our choir director, Steve Schaefer.
Good morning, everybody. I am so excited to see some new faces in the congregation and some new faces in the choir this morning. Give it up for our choir, they're back. This is just a pop-up choir, so it's kind of just like a little mini reunion. So we're really excited to sing for you this morning, and then they're going to go back into the cave until the next time. But I wanted to draw your attention in the bulletin. There are still opportunities to sign up for summer music. So again, if you have something you've been practicing on the harp or the recorder, I know some of you play recorder, or you want to sing something, or you want to work on something fun with Ken or myself or Gabby, let us know. I'm going to be around in coffee hour, and I'm going to be wearing this same shirt. So come find me and let me know if you want to do some special music or offering for one of the Sunday services. Thank you.
Other announcements. Warning East Celebration of Life will be held on Tuesday, July 25th at 2 p.m. Next Sunday, we're going to be saying goodbye to Margarita, and we want to let her know just how much we've appreciated her service to Southminster this summer. There's going to be a parking lot cleanup on Wednesday, August 2nd from 9 to 3. Bert Schmidt's Celebration of Life will be held on Saturday, August 12th at 2 p.m. The all-church summer potluck and barbecue will be held Sunday, August 13th, and more details on that will be given later. A reminder for the per capita remittance that helps fund the Presbyterian National Church, or National Presbyterian Church, and also if you can do that, then we can get rid of this reminder soon. The last announcement here is Southminster Reads. The book is Saving Grace by Kirsten Powers. It's a great read that can help us navigate today's divided world with grace. So now I'd like to invite Margarita to come forward so she can give us an update on our rummage sale.
Well, hi, everyone. As you guys know, we had our rummage sale this week, and everything went well. I think, as you guys know, 75% of the proceeds benefit the youth program, but the other 25% goes to the Southminster General Fund. And overall, this week, we have made $4,090. So something like that, it certainly takes a village, and we couldn't have done it without our volunteers. So this week we had over 25 adult volunteers and 11 youth volunteers as well. But I'd like to thank particularly two people, Rebecca Walp and Susan Stevens Garcia. Can you guys please come up here? I'll give her something in a little bit. Well, Rebecca, she's the queen of garage sales, or of rummage sales, excuse me, and she spent countless hours preparing for the selling day. And Susan, she organized everything, and she had a solution for every problem coming our way. So thank you both so much. I'd also like to recognize all the people who took time out of their busy schedules to come volunteer and help us out. Could you guys all please stand up, anyone who volunteered? Thank you guys so much. Okay.
Just a couple more introductions. That was Ken Wilson on the piano and Stephen Schaefer, again, our choir director, and our technical director is Moses Ram. So let's pause as we enter this holy space and become this beloved community. We're going to begin by reflecting on the words of Joseph Campbell, a Polish and British novelist and short story writer. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Please join me in our call to worship. Will all who are able please stand? This is the day that God has made. We may meet our challenges today, even in dark valleys. Yet here for us is another day that God has made. Yes, amen. We will rejoice and be glad in it. May the peace of Christ be with you. And also with you. Let's offer one another the sign of peace. for the children's time.
Good morning. I'm very happy to see you this morning. I'm especially happy to see so many of you this morning because you have a very special treat waiting for you in your class after we get finished here today. So, woohoo, it's going to be fun. I'm sorry I can't be with you, but I have some stuff I need to do, okay? So, I'm wondering, are any of you afraid of creepy, crawly things like, cockroaches? Any of you afraid of creepy, crawly things?
Sort of.
Huh? Like spiders or cockroaches? Cockroaches, yes. Spiders, not so sure. Huh?
Cockroaches going to people's ears. What happened was a bunch of flies got in my
Anybody? Okay. You know what it feels like, I think, to feel afraid, right? Yeah? What are some of the things you're afraid of? What are you afraid of?
spiders and cockroaches.
Spiders and cockroaches. Yeah? Yeah? What else?
Sometimes flies and sometimes bees and cockroaches.
Flies, bees, cockroaches. What else?
Tarantulas and venomous snakes. Oh, yeah.
Tarantulas and venomous snakes. I'm with you.
Definitely hornets and wasps.
Definitely hornets and wasps. All right, we are on a roll. There's a lot of fear to be had in this life, isn't there?
Tarantulas don't even bite.
When I was your age and learning to read, some of you read a lot better than I did when I was your age, I was struggling learning to read, and I was afraid. Every day we had reading in school, and our seats were kind of lined up in rows in those days, and the teacher would go up and down the rows with the children taking turns to read, and I would sit there in my chair, and I would get a really bad stomach ache because I was afraid that when it was my turn I might make a mistake, and maybe the kids would laugh at me or something. So there are lots of things that we're afraid of. I wanted to tell you about a time when Jesus was with his friends, his disciples, the ones that followed him. They were in the temple, and we've talked about this in our class about how huge the temple was in Jerusalem. And they were talking about how beautiful the temple was. And then Jesus began to tell them about things that were going to happen in the future. Jesus said all the stones of the temple would someday fall down. He said there would be earthquakes and even wars. He said that some of his disciples would be persecuted and maybe even thrown into prison. Well, all of that made them very afraid. They were grown-up men, but they still were very afraid about these things that Jesus was telling them. But Jesus said to them, "Don't be afraid. No matter what happens, I'm always going to be with you." I don't know if that got rid of all their fear, but it sure made them feel a lot better. Jesus is always with us. God is always with us. And whether we're a little nervous in the dark or whether we're scared of some creepy crawly things, whatever fears we might have, let's remember that God is with us. One of the things I'm sometimes afraid of is running out of gas. It happens when you get my age. You worry about that. But when I'm on the highway driving all by myself, especially very late at night, I worry if my fuel gauge looks like it's getting down to empty and I might not find a service station in time. And then what would I do? I would be stranded all by myself on the side of the road. What do you think I did? Or how
Walk home.
I could walk home if it wasn't 500 miles. What do you think?
I think you would call like
I could call for help?
you could
Yeah.
you could call a car place.
I could call a car place.
Card.
What do you think, Sophia?
Well, I'm just gonna say that my mom's car is fully electric, so all her gas points turn into coupons.
Yeah, I don't have an electric car. But I'm glad your mom does.
You could also call
Let me tell you what I do when I get nervous and scared that I'm going to run out of gas. And I'm going to teach you a little song right now, Dory, and you can tell me that a little bit, okay? You know how we learn songs in class? I'm going to line it out for you. I sing this song when I get a little bit scared. The Lord is my strength and my salvation. Can you sing that with me? Maybe the grown-ups will help. The Lord is my strength and my salvation. I will trust and will not be afraid. I will trust and will not be afraid. For you, O God, are my strength and my song. For you, O God, are my strength and my song. You also have become my salvation. You also have become my salvation. And the next part just makes me happy. La 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 That really makes me feel a lot better when I get nervous. So maybe we'll learn that song a little bit more when I see you next time in class. Dory, you've had your hand up. What do you need to say to me?
You could also call your friend to pick you up.
I could call my friend to pick me up. I could, if my friend weren't 500 miles away. But thank you very much for listening. And now I want to introduce you to your teacher of the day, Jeannie Reinhard. Will you come, please? And you also have some special guests, and they're going to come along with you and talk to you about mission today. So, Kai.
Extra gas in the back of your car.
I should have extra gas in the back of my car. I love this kid. Thank you, Kai. All right, time to go.
Our Hebrew Testament reading is from the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The theme reading is from Paulo Coelho. He's a Brazilian lyrist and novelist, and the reading's from The Alchemist. Tell your heart that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself, and that no heart ever suffers when it goes in search of its dreams, because every second of the search is a second's encounter with God and with eternity.
I just wanted to give a shout out to this choir. There are a few new folks in here, and I'm so glad that they took the risk of coming in and joining us for a little bit of fun. So typically in the fall or in the spring when the choir meets every Tuesday night for 90 minutes, we go through some warm-ups and we learn and practice a bunch of pieces throughout the night. And for each piece that we sing here on Sunday, we practice it on average maybe 5 times, on 5 different Tuesdays, sometimes 6 times, and if it's really tricky, maybe 8 times. And this morning, the choir showed up, and they've never seen this music before, and they learned it in 20 minutes. Yeah. So we're really excited to present this piece by Joseph M. Martin. He is a very fun composer from the South, and we actually have sung some pieces from him here in the congregation. Namely, 2 years in a row we've sung on Palm Sunday the Hosanna Processional. Do you remember that? Yes. So he's got a very fun style. This piece is no different. So please welcome the Chancel Choir back for the summer pop-up session. All right, let's do it.
Arise, beloved, arise.
Oh, goodness. I've been asked to let you know that somebody lost their glasses or left their glasses in the ladies' room. And they're sitting right back there on that little console. So if you're missing your glasses, they are there. All righty. I'm actually the third stringer today. Long ago, Scott knew that he was not going to be here, and he knew that Don was not going to be here, and they invited Ekaputra Tupamahu, a member of our church, to preach. And everything was set. The order of worship was all lined out, and then COVID. So, Mr. Tupamahu and his wife are recovering at home, and hopefully will be back with us again soon. And he will have an opportunity to bring his message to you at a later time this year. So, when I was a young woman, newly married and pregnant with my first child, my husband was still quite young. Although we were the same age, he was, as you understand, somewhat younger than I. And so he would go off to play cards with his friends a couple of nights a week, leaving me all alone in our new apartment, which happened to be in a very unfamiliar part of town, and maybe just a little bit seedy. There were train tracks not far from our back door, and this reality made me even more nervous about being alone late at night. I hated staying alone at night, and would on those occasions sit up into the wee hours waiting for my new husband's return so I could finally relax and go to sleep. I remember one night I sat without moving for what seemed like more than an hour. I don't know how long it was, but it seemed like forever, staring at the front door handle. I'd seen it move, you see. And at that moment, I became completely paralyzed with fear. Fear can do that to us, can't it? It can make us otherwise intelligent and competent people become simply frozen and impotent. This was, I must confess, not a completely new experience for me. When I was in grade school, maybe 5th grade or so, my parents would leave me in charge of my 2 younger brothers on a Friday night while they went out for a few hours. Now, before you condemn my parents, remember it was a long time ago. Back in the 50s, this was a common practice. After my brothers were long fast asleep, I sat up alone and wide awake, listening to all the settling noises of our old 2-story house, and getting increasingly anxious with each new bump or creak. When the fear became finally just too much for me to bear, I would call my aunt, just to hear her comforting voice, and secretly hoping she'd come right over to save me, or at least stay on the line for a long, long time. How in the world, you might wonder if you knew me very well, did I ever survive as a single mother of 8 children? I've been a single mom since 1986 and living completely on my own now for the last 20 years. Something changed along the way. A clue to what changed for me is hidden in our text for today. Psalm 23, particularly in this verse. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Up to this point in the psalm, the writer speaks about God, declaring that God is the good shepherd who provides all that is needed in this life, leading him to green pastures and still waters, restoring his very soul. But now, at this moment, comes a shift as the psalmist addresses God directly, reflecting on the ultimate reality of the human journey. Death, after all, comes to everyone. As the famous morality play from the Middle Ages, which I used to do with my junior high school kids and even did in a church once, Every Man. Have you heard of that play? Every Man? That play declares death comes to everyone. No one escapes death, and so among all the fears that we might have in our journey, the fear of death is most likely the biggest one, or at least very close to it. It's the big fear hiding under most of the lesser fears. The Vietnamese Buddhist monk and spiritual teacher Thich Nhat Hanh, who wrote over 100 books during his 95 years as a teacher, speaks out about the fear of death in his book entitled No Death, No Fear. He says, we are afraid of death. We are afraid of separation. And we are afraid of nothingness. The idea of existence is to be removed, and so is the idea of non-existence. To be or not to be are just two ideas opposing each other, but they are not reality. Now, this doesn't come close to the message of his book. I would be presumptuous to try to distill it into a few words. It's a beautiful and comforting discussion about the human journey and the end of life. I commend it to you. The French priest and scientist Pierre Teilhard de Chardin puts it this way: we are not human beings on a spiritual journey. We are spiritual beings on a human journey. Let me say that again in case you haven't heard that before. We are not human beings on a spiritual journey. We are spiritual beings on a human journey. In my journey as a clergy person, I've sat with not just a few people over the years as they are coming to the end of their human journey. And it seems to me that in most cases, no one really knows, as the text tells us, the hour of their own death, or anyone else's for that matter. And truth be told, we prefer to keep, in our culture at least, we prefer to keep the topic at arm's length. and rarely speak of it, if ever. Actually, I've been talking to my children recently about this very thing. And each time I open the topic, they try to shut me down. But I keep whittling away because I think it's very important. Some days, however, it's not possible to keep the topic at arm's length. The topic is unavoidable. Times like when we approach the anniversary of a loved one's passing. Times when we ourselves or someone we love are facing a very serious illness. When the world's political scene gets dicey and scary. We have an election coming, and already it's feeling a little dicey and scary. When we read one of Greta Thunberg's books on the state of the world's climate. These are challenging times we live in, especially challenging for the younger generation. It seems there's a lot more to be frightened about in these days than when I was a teenager. I don't know if you agree, but that's what it seems like to me. Our young people need a lot of support and a lot of comforting. Let's turn back to our psalm for a moment. It is, I realize, a psalm familiar to all of us. I think it's hands down the psalm most requested if anybody asks for a particular text. It's one that probably most of you know by heart, at least part of it. There's a reason why this psalm is the favorite of so many in the church. Psalm 23 is written like a lot of Hebrew poetry within a chiastic structure. In this form, the most important element, the very heart of the piece, if you will, is found at the very center of the composition. Whatever comes before and whatever comes after is balanced and relatively equal. This is the case in Psalm 23. The very center is the section that I read earlier. Thou art with me. Thou art with me. The psalmist David is no longer speaking about God. Now he speaks to God. Thou art with me. Before this little verse, there are exactly 26 words in the Hebrew. And after this little verse, there are exactly 26 words in the Hebrew. C.G. Jung, the psychologist, put it this way, but now in Latin. Vocatus atque non vocatus, Deus aderit. Invoked or not invoked, God is still present. Thou art with me. The central message of the psalm, and it is followed immediately by your rod and your staff, they comfort me. I know exactly where I was when I got the call from my younger brother that our mother had died. I was sitting at my desk in my church office in Medford, focusing and working. It was early afternoon. After I received the message on the phone, I went into the sanctuary to be alone, to be quiet, and to try to absorb the news. I didn't really feel very much at first, beyond shock. And then a friend appeared. She came and sat beside me and took me in her arms. And at that very moment, the tears began to flow uncontrollably. She just held me and let me cry and cry and cry. Thou art with me, comforting me. I retired a few years ago, the first time. I'm going to do the third pretty soon. I don't know when. I took an extended trip at that time to Argentina, and I'd been there for about a month when I found a message on Facebook asking me to get in touch with my niece on the East Coast. My older brother, Ed, had died. Before this, Ed and I had never talked about my doing his service, but I really wasn't that surprised when I learned that he wanted me to do it. I left right away, flew to DC, and I expected this little service in Virginia to be a small gathering. After all, Ed was in his mid to late 80s. I can't even remember right now exactly. But, you know, he was retired. He was a retired Army officer. Much to my surprise, there were more than 300 people gathering for his service. When I arrived back home in Portland, I was saddened to discover my beloved cat of many years, Charlie, had also died during my absence. By now, I'm carrying around quite a bit, yes. Well, it was my habit in those days to attend the noontime practica at my dance teacher's studio in Portland to dance tango and practice tango. That's why it's called a practica. My friend Stan, when I went that day, a very devout and very married Christian gentleman, came to dance with me with a big smile, saying, "Welcome home." Then I shared my sad news about my brother. And Stan's response was, "I know. I heard." Then he took me in the abrazo. The abrazo is the name for the tango embrace. To some people who dance Argentine tango, it's the very essence of the dance. That day, the abrazo felt quite different than it ever had before. It felt comforting and safe. Then, instead of dancing normally as we would at the practica, one tanda, which consists of 3 little songs and lasting about 10 minutes, we danced and danced and danced for, 30, 40 minutes, never once breaking the abrazo. As we danced, I felt the tears flowing down my cheeks, but I was never inclined to wipe them away. I just danced. Finally, we both exhaled and released the embrace. And Stan looked at me with his very kind eyes and said, "I'm so sorry for your loss." Thou art with me. One last story. This time it's from Marianne Borg, one-time cantor at Trinity Episcopal Church in Portland and widow of Marcus Borg, who I know many of you know, at least through his writings. A trailblazing, progressive Christian leader and teacher for most of his adult life. I lived 2 doors down from Marcus and Marianne in my last year of seminary at Pacific School of Religion. It was quite a treat. Some of you remember his books, particularly maybe his most famous one called Meeting Jesus Again for the First Time. Borg has been an important teacher for me since seminary days. His last book, Days of Awe and Wonder, How to Be a Christian in the 21st Century, is a collection of his previously unpublished works at the time of his death in 2015. In the afterword to that book is this brief story from Marianne. She says, I'm so used to Mark's being on the road. I kept expecting him to come home. We were such a good match that I worried what I would do without his love. Then the other day, while I was walking the kids are their 2 dogs, Henry and Abby. While walking the kids, I realized I still feel that love. I still have it. Not in a sentimental way, but in a molecular way. You know how Jesus said, my peace I leave with you? We all heard it. Oh, I thought, so this is what that feels like. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I do not give as the world gives. Do not be troubled. Do not be afraid. Thou art with me. So may it be for us all. Amen.
please be seated and maybe be joined in prayer. Please let us know what you'd have us pray for at this time. Should have a couple people with mics. Thanks.
I know I say prayers a lot, ask for prayers a lot. I learned yesterday in a phone call with my sister that my son and his entire family are moving to Amsterdam next Friday. And he and I have not, as most of you have heard, had a great relationship for the last few years. But this was kind of unexpected in the sense that, I don't know if I'll ever see him again. So, my other sister has, of course we'll see him, we'll go to Amsterdam, but, I've never met my grandchildren. And I was really hoping to meet them someday, soon. Looks like that's not gonna happen. So just prayers of acceptance. I've accepted a long time ago, well, not that long ago, that I'll never know why our relationship went the way it did, but maybe this will make it better. Who knows? We never know.
My wife, Rebecca, and I would both like to thank you all so much for the concern that you've shown and the love and the prayers that you have offered to her during her illness. It's still being diagnosed. She's been under examination for about 4 or 5 weeks. And this coming week, the end of this week, she's going to get some decision or some advice from the doctors at the staff at St. Vincent Hospital. So thank you so much. She appreciates it just immeasurably.
For my friend Ruth, who's facing serious abdominal surgery.
For my sister, who's 2 years younger than I am, but in a convalescent home near here, recuperating from a bad fall at the house and broken vertebrae and other medical issues. They are still trying to figure out what's going on.
Prayers for my son who lives in England with his wife. They just had their second child, and 2 weeks after they had their second daughter, he was rushed to the hospital. And he's had serious health issues all his life, and it can be fatal. And so it's really tough for them to have a new baby in the home, and he's home, but it's very concerning, and there's not really a lot that can be done.
Rick, one. Just prayers for our country and healing the Great Divide. My sister and I, Kathy, were at the rummage sale yesterday, and a gentleman came in, and the hatred in him for some of the political reasons was just unbelievable. And we tried to talk to him, and we couldn't even be agree to disagree. We just had to stop talking to him. So just prayers for the country to come together in compassion.
Just to what you mentioned, I have the good opportunity, as I hope a lot of you have taken advantage of it, to read the book that was suggested we read, Grace. Please, I'll be bringing my book back as soon as I finish it. Need to read that, exactly what you just said. There's a lot of hatred out there. There's a lot of everything that is just mind-boggling that it can be so. In her book, Grace, we learn how we can be blessed with that. You can be part of that in the midst of the worst. So I'm just encouraging that. And I guess what I really wanted to say is I have gratitude that that book was made available. Thank you.
Prayers for Greta Roll. She really appreciates cards. She can't really have too many visitors. She's struggling. She's had some infection and things like that. On the 25th, she'll be 95.
Okay, let's join in prayer. Gracious God, we're thankful for this time together. Thank you for your healing presence. Lift up all of us into your loving hands. Encourage the hopeless, comfort those who are suffering, and may we serve as your agents of love, hope, and your peace. We lift up the prayers that were offered here today, both spoken and silent. We pray all these things through Jesus, who taught us how to live. Please join me in our corporate prayer, and we say this in the name of the one who called us here. Eternal Spirit, Maker, Pain Bearer, Life Giver, Source of all that is and that shall be, Father and Mother of us all, loving God in whose heaven, may the hallowing of your name echo through the universe. The way of your justice be followed by the peoples of the world. Your heavenly will be done by all created beings. Your commonwealth of peace and freedom sustain our hope, come on earth. With the bread we need for today, feed us. In the hurts we absorb from one another, forgive us. In times of temptation and test, strengthen us. From trial too great to endure, spare us. From the grip of all that is evil, free us. For you reign in glory with the power that is love, now and forever. Amen. Let us now receive our morning offerings.
With the offering this morning, I turn to Domenico Scarlatti for the offertory and also for the postlude. And just to give you a little bit of a background, and what you will be hearing is that he's an Italian composer who worked in Spain under Queen Isabella. And so he treats the harpsichord like the most popular instrument in Spain, which is, of course, the guitar. So you might feel like you're hearing a guitar once in a while, and that's why. But most of it is very uplifting, and he wrote over 600. So, I thought maybe for the next 3 years, I'll just play Scarlatti every Sunday.
May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Our service has ended. You are invited to stay for the postlude and for conversations and refreshments in the Peterson Gallery.